panel with me on stage here, and I'm going to introduce them, just beginning from my far left. That's Professor Charles Ondieki. He's the chairman of the TVET CDAC, and we'll be getting to understand what exactly that is about in a bit. Then we have Felicitas Gitao, who's the Director of Sales and Marketing at Farmers Choice Limited. Thank you for joining us. And we have Dr. Edwin Tano, who's the Chief Principal of Kenya Teachers Training College, KTTC. And we have Dr. Joseph Monari, who's the Director. He's actually the, let me just confirm that he is the Technical Delegate of World Skills Kenya, and he's also the Director of Eastern Africa Research and Innovation at Edibon International. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us, as well as our audience here who are ready to learn and listen. So I just want to kick it off with Professor Ondieki. For you who is in a state institution where you look at the quality, the syllabus, the curricula, and the likes, we have got this perception that technical jobs or blue-collar jobs are less important than white-collar jobs, and they've been shunned upon many years. So you find many of the times those who end up in blue-collar jobs at times are considered those who did not excel academically, for instance. We are moving on and picking up a new way of life, so to speak, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is being done, and what is important to note, that we can know that these are equally important jobs?
Thank you, Dan. I think it's better I start from myself. I'm Professor Charles Manas Ondieki. I've gone through TVET education from the lower level up to PhD. That shows you how important it is in the first place. Also, there is nothing you can see around where you are here that is not made by a TVET person. Nothing. And that applies to all countries in the whole world. That tells you how important that sector is. If you know that without TVET, you can't go anywhere. Without impressing TVET, like German has done, South Korea has done, Malaysia has seen it here, has done it, and many of the Southeast Asia countries, we are moving nowhere. Unfortunately, we have taken too long to embrace TVET. And this is, it happened, I would say, from 2013, when there was an enactment of TVET Act of 2013, which came out of sessional paper number 14 of 2012, which I would say Mr. Tari knows here was a member. That paper, if you read it, the sessional paper tells you all about the TVET and how TVET is important. And out of that, we had to come out with a TVET Act to separate TVET from the basic education. Now, further, under the TVET Act, the TVET CDAC was established to develop a curriculum, assess, and also award certificate from those graduates. Now, the development of this curriculum is not the ordinary one. It is a competency-based curriculum. I know this is where people should ask, what is this? Competency has three aspects. There is a skill, there is a knowledge, and there is the attitude, where you get life skills. Now, with a competency-based curriculum, you are assured of having 100% employment. And let me put it that way. In the sense that you can have people being employed, they can also employ themselves. You have the skills and the attitude towards the work. And for any young person coming from any of the TVET institutions, you can get a job or you can start your own job. In fact, most people who are very bright, they have started their own job and you can survive. In Kenya, for example, we have a lot of material that has not been developed. And we can develop a lot of courses, and therefore we can come out with a lot of jobs from those. And that requires some entrepreneurs. and the entrepreneurs are these graduates from TVET institutions. And that's why that TVET is extremely important. And the system that we have started, which was starting from 2013, is the only one that ensures that everyone is assured of having an employment.
All right, thank you very much. That's a good way to encourage those who may be interested that you're pretty assured of getting employment, especially in this day and age when unemployment is quite a pain for many people. And I want to bring in Felicitas. He's spoken about the training and the importance of these kind of jobs. But for you who is in the industry, there has been the concern across the board, be it technical or even in the other jobs, that there's a disconnect between what is being taught in the schools and what you expect when you're at Farmers Choice, and you guys have a lot of machinery that needs to be operated. But what you get from schools at times is not the same thing. So you have to again retrain, and not just because of the specific needs you have, but because sometimes there's a disconnect. Are we still seeing that, and what needs to change so that the schools can actually churn relevantly trained students?
All right, thank you very much, Dan, for that. And he's brought about a very important point. I would refer to a research that was done, a study that was done by the German Corporation in 2017 in collaboration with CAM, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, which represent us as a country and all across the industry. In this, in 2017, there was a huge gap, and I will be happy to say that with the recent past, we have noticed quite a bit of change, where now there is more discussion between the industry and the team that is preparing the curriculum. Because the problem, and partly we can say that that has been one of the problems for unemployment in the country, is because we have so many graduates, but unfortunately, they do not have solutions for us in the industry. So for us to close this gap, and for us as a country to actually even achieve Vision 2030, we actually need a lot of the technical skills to be upgraded, because it is out of this that they will be able to offer solutions and to help the organizations to also grow to the next level. So as a country, we do need, but we've seen a huge gap, but we've seen some progress, but there's more that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Tan, I want to bring you in on the same, just about the disconnect between what is being taught and what is being, churned out into the market, and what rather the market expects and demands of the workforce. What do you think needs to be done? The same question I've asked now for you, who is on the side of being a trainer and a teacher in terms of an institution. What are some of the learnings that you have had over the years?
Thank you very much, Mwangi. A correct TVET system has several components that must be there. Fundamentally, there are four. The first one is the regulatory framework. We must have some laws that regulate the industry. I'm happy that the TVET Act came into place to make sure that we're able to regulate that, so that we can be able to regulate institutions. We can also be able to regulate how the teachings is done. The second one is a component of the trainers or the teachers, the technical teachers. How technically competent are they? Are they, for instance, able to teach what you're talking about, CBET now? Are they also industry-based? Do they really go to the industry, or they're just lecturers who went through the normal academic systems and are not able to get to the ground that is required? The third one is equipment and infrastructure, which as a country we have done very well. We have built 130 colleges in the last 4 years. We have equipment worth several billions that have been put in these places. We have done well there. The question then comes to the fourth one, the industry link. That's the fourth component. In the industry link, that is where we have challenges. And basically, if you look at the dual system the Germans use, which is one of the best in the world currently, it says you have to have half of the time in the industry and half of the time in the institutions. The challenge then is, with the number of technical institutions and the number of TVET students that are there, can we all fit in the industry at every given time at 50-50 levels? We have also suggestions that have come up that we can also validate some of the Juakali industries that are strong enough to make sure that they are safe and they have a reasonable environment for our students to be attached, and also our lecturers to participate in. So we have many issues that needs to be discussed, but the critical one is the competence of both the trainer and the competence of the entire system of TVET, as it were. So my sister here will tell you that there is that mismatch, and basically because of the component of us not going to the industry. But I'm happy now, currently, the TVET SIDAC, Kenya Association of Manufacturers and Technical Training Institutions are now talking to make sure that the gaps that are created by these challenges are covered.
All right, thank you very much. And Dr. Monari, you are also the Director of East African Research and Innovation at Edible International, which is a Spanish firm, I believe. And when you look at what is being done, say, in Spain and what is being done here, what do you think are some of the learnings that Kenya's technical space can actually learn from the European way of doing things?
Thank you, Dan. What I can say is that in terms of what is being done in the European countries in terms of TVET and what here in Africa, specifically Kenya, what we do is totally a bit different. What happens and what the industry needs to do with the TVET institution, they need to have strong public-private partnerships. That creates maybe hubs from the industry where a company, for example, XYZ, goes to an institution and creates an innovation hub, maybe for research in engineering, research in mechatronics. That's what happens in Spain. Then, when there is a partnership between a TVET institution and a private sector or an industry, the gap of skills is closed because the institution will train in relation to what is being done in the industry. Then when the student graduates or completes the program in the institution, is able to get a job or an opportunity in the industry. So as a country, we have done well. I've gone to several counties to benchmark what is being done in TVET institutions. We are trying to be able to assist and come up with various projects with the development partners, for example, African Development Bank, World Bank, to initiate projects where the industry can have more investment in our TVET institutions. Because without the investment of the industry in TVET institutions, then the industry cannot be able to observe what is being produced. And being produced, these are the students who graduate from the industry. Even getting internships in the industry becomes very difficult because the industry fear retraining again because they have to go to an extra mile, creating an expense or a cost. So as a country, with the TVET Act of 2013, we are doing well, and the most important thing that maybe the government needs to do is to put up a strategy where the industry in our country and the institutions, there is compulsory public-private partnerships with these institutions. For example, Toyota Kenya must have a partnership with an institution which is doing automotive engineering. At the end of the day, you will have the gap closed between the industry and what is being trained in class. And also the industry will assist the TVET institutions to acquire more equipment, because today we are speaking about Industry 4.0, which is being done in other countries. But here in Kenya, we need also to move with a faster rate so that we feel that when we have student mobility, because I know there is a project coming up for student mobility from Africa to Europe. If you go to Europe as a student, you are taken to an industry in Europe where they're dealing with machines of Industry 4.0, then you will take time to understand. So as a country, we need to have a strong partnership between the industry and the institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to bring in Prof once again. And we are seeing a lot of the labor-intensive jobs being swept away by technology. So you find we had a huge machine here, a huge task to be done, and it needed to be done by 50 people, for instance. Then we've brought in this new machine which wipes away those 50 jobs. You just need 2 guys to operate it. So we've got 48 people or thereabouts who are left unemployed. So are we training people enough, those whose jobs are being wiped away, in a way that's commensurate so that they can take up the new jobs that are coming up which are technology-based, or are we still playing catch-up?
Thank you, Dan. I think that's a very good and varied question, and especially in the modern times. Now, If I can refer to what Madam said, one thing is that TVET SIDAC has had a very good cooperation with the industry. And we are doing very well. When we started, there were very few industry who are responding. But now, we call a meeting, we have to go to KSM, which is a bigger issue where more than even 400 people come from the industry, which is a very good thing. And therefore, it means the industry is really cooperating very well with the government. And this is what we want. Out of that, we are able to develop courses that are actually favorable and which can also make these graduates start their own work. Because as you put it rightly, a job that used to be done by 50 people nowadays, because of the technology, is being done by 2. But that does not mean these others cannot be able to do anything. Now, one of the most important things, the area that I mentioned about attitude. Attitude has to do with life skills. And life skills can make a person do anything. In fact, the research we carried out with TVET SIDAC and KBA to industry, we went to industry, what they said that the most important thing is the life skill. You find someone who has got the right attitude towards work, can do any work. Even if you are trained to do mechanical, you can easily do electrical, very easily, and be converted. Now, what is important here is the life skill. And it has been, the research has been carried out elsewhere, which shows that success 85% depends on life skills, and only 15% depends on technical skills. And that is the truth, and we have seen it. We have seen a lawyer who has gone out and is working on ICT, and is doing very well. And he has never touched anything to do with law. Now, what is important, because the new system of developing curriculum is that life skills is a must. In fact, we have what we call common, or what we call the basic competencies. And these basic competencies where we have employability skills, which can make a person start anything. Once you have been trained, you can start anything. Even if a job has gone away, you can even start on another line. And this is very, very important as far as the curriculum development is concerned.
Thank you very much. Dr. Tano wanted to contribute on the same.
It's interesting. This story of jobs being replaced is not new. All along, humanity has been evolving in a very interesting manner. Before the agrarian economies and all the years that have passed, we have always been innovating. And the innovations are based on making our lives better. And we have never really reached a level where we say we are totally now having mechanization. What we need to do, last year's in the World Skills function at Norway, where I attended, it came out very clearly that naturally all the jobs will be replaced and new technologies will come up. What we need to do is, as we talk today, do we have enough mechatronics in Kenya? We don't. As we talk today, artificial intelligence is here. We don't have people who are trained in it. We have so many industries that are springing up that are based on latest innovations. What we have is actually a shortage. So all we need to do is to actually reorient our technical education to quickly catch up with what the industry is requiring and to evolve to that level. You remember we used to have long time, we used to have pagers. Maybe for those of you who are old like me.
There's a generational situation.
Yes. We used to have pagers. Then we used to have fax. Yeah. I mean, we used to have post office where we used to take a lot of letters and move around. They were replaced quickly by mobile phones. What we did was to convert the group of employees that were there, then to move to the new technologies. So I think the correct position would be how fast are you evolving as a country, and how fast are the technical institutions evolving to catch up with what is happening in the world. The technical education industry is extremely fluid. What was a smartphone 3 years ago is not smart anymore. So what we need to do rather than trying to imagine that we are being replaced, is to catch up with the technology. Of course, that depends on the level of of a country in terms of development. Of course, developed countries have got a higher level of technology advances. But even in Kenya, we are very lucky because Kenya was ranked among the top, I think the top in the telecommunications industry in Africa now. Yeah. So we need to leverage on those kind of activities to move on to the next level. I just wanted to mention something interesting that my professor mentioned. There are 3 issues when to do with the youth employment that we need to look at. A competent person, we are told, is someone who has skills, who has knowledge, and who has the correct attitude. Our problem is to leverage. How do we balance the 3? Majority of the people have the knowledge. And then some would have the knowledge and the skill. And then lack the attitude. And when you lack the attitude, it means you don't really value technical education. But I'm in because I get the skill, I have the knowledge, but the attitude, I'm not in. So it's a question of having those 3 components completely integrated in the learning so that this person comes out as a complete, wholesome person for the technical education.
Thank you. Felicitas wanted to also contribute.
Just to add, practically in the industry where we are, as much as we have mechanics and the machine evolving that you can produce so many sausages, we still don't have a robot that can make a sausage. So you still need the technical people. But how fast and how agile are the students leaving the technical institutions? And how often do the institutions come to see this machine so that when you're training your candidates, they come with that skill? Attitude has been talked about a lot. How agile are you? How soon can you adapt? Like we are looking for a digital marketer, but everyone wants to do a billboard. It costs 3-5 million. There is COVID. What do? We need digital. Everyone right now, I have so many of my mentees who are attending this session virtually. But how many people have adjusted quickly? Oh, you don't start saying that you only have a small phone. Have the agility, the attitude, and be quick to change. That's critical. And I can assure you, as he said, the employment is there. And also, like an institution where I work, for Farmers Choice, it's been there for 40 years, over 40 years. Where we used to make a sausage in the 1970s is quite different. But what we have done is that we've been able to export. It means, as much as we replace the 50 technical people, we need another 100 to be able to produce the volumes to export to the Middle East, to across the region. So you have to look at it positively and be ready to adjust.
Thank you very much, Dr. Munari.
I can add something to what Dr. Tano and Felicitas has said. As a country, I think from the top leadership of the country, there is a goodwill of developing the skills of the country. As many of you may be aware, Kenya joined the WorldSkills International last year as the 84th member. The reason why even the president of our republic wants Kenya to join WorldSkills is to ensure that when, as a country, we take people out to compete internationally, we change the attitude of the students. Because you are meeting people from Japan, where the technology is very high. You are meeting people from China, who are giving a lot of equipment to us, German, so that at the end of the day, anybody who goes to that competition as a youth, when you come back, you inspire the rest of the community to join the TVET institution. So I think we are on the right path. The only thing we need to do is to inspire many people to join the TVET institutions and be able to develop the skills that we have. Because there is somebody who is very good in automotive, but because he's feeling that I'll never get a job in the industry, then he doesn't go ahead. But with the Kenya joining WorldSkills International, then we can be able to exchange, we have the student mobility and be able to develop and even change the attitude of our students. Thank you.
Prof?
Yeah, while actually we are talking about encouraging very many of our graduates from secondary to join TVET, but unfortunately we have very few people in the top civil servant who are also discouraging at the same time. When they talk in the public, they talk positively. But when you go back to the office and what they are doing is totally different. And this is where we are, and that's why we are not moving. Take example. We came out with an act on engineering technology so that the people, the graduates from TVET institution are recognized and become professionals. And actually that one made the number which enrolled in TVET institution, and maybe Dr. Tarino can enroll, it jumped by almost 30,000 because of that that body only, which formed Kenya Engineering Technology Registration Board. But when the board when it finished this term, it is now a year and beyond before another one has been put in place, and therefore people are not even registering now. And that is a matter of just someone writing that a board has been errored, because someone in the ministry doesn't see it necessary. That's not all. Just last week, I got a very sad story, I would say. Someone went through TVET. He went from certificate craft course. He did a diploma, and he did a diploma. He went and did masters, and now he applied to do a PhD degree. I don't want to mention the institution. Now, then someone told him, and remember we are encouraging that anybody you can start from even having E. You go and get a certificate, you go craft, you go up to the end. That's what we are encouraging as a government. That's the policy. Now, when he went there, and then he was told, but we have noted that your O-level was not very good. They did not bother to see the person has got a certificate. They did not bother to see has got a diploma and passing very highly, and got even master's and passing very highly. And the requirement to do a PhD is a master's. All those were put aside, and it's unfortunate we have that kind of thing, because you have seen some people even join somewhere. Someone joined a Southern, I think, Seku University sometime, and when he was doing master, he was told he cannot join because he did not have a C+ in all level. What is that magic on C+? And yet that person has been doing very well all along. Now, we have stopped to think, and the people are telling are people with even PhD. So we have stopped to think that the people change. Even what you are today, you may not be the same thing tomorrow. You will have added some knowledge from here, from even this. Okay? So you become different. People don't know that. Now, this is what is spoiling in Kenya right now, and many people are having that problem. Right now, I think when TVET SIDAC started, I might go back. We had some challenges, because you must know. Because someone was saying, this body is doing curriculum development. But there is Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development doing also curriculum development. The person did not think that taking care of a rabbit may not be the same as taking care of cows. You know, it's not the same, okay? Now, what he could see, curriculum development. Now, he didn't understand what it is. What the curriculum we are doing, and the people from industry can attest, is totally different from the curriculum that is meant for basic education. Totally different. We have a lot of things involved in the curriculum. We have occupational standard, we have mentoring tools, we have what we call assessment tools, we have very many things, and that's why we need a quality assurance regulator, which is now TVETA, because there are so many things to be looked at, which may not require the competency-based curriculum that is run at KICD, which is for basic education and which is for mass. This is not. This is specialized. And therefore, we need people to understand. The unfortunate thing is that in the top position, when you have a committee looking at, let's say, there's a task force, I think, which was trying to put some bodies together. We don't have anybody qualified to talk about TVET. That is the problem. So you cannot make a good policy out of wrong information.
So you're basically saying that it seems the government and the decision makers and the policy makers are preaching water and taking quite a bit of wine.
One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing.
Dr. Monari wanted to add to that.
Let me add something on what Prof has said. I think the challenge we have is not really a challenge, is right by saying that we need to think out of the box. What is happening in other countries is that the government has a challenge. Maybe I'm not in government, I don't want to speak about it. There is funding. These institutions like TVET SIDAC, the TVETA, the institutions must have proper funding. For example, in European countries, I want to speak specifically in the Spanish government, they have funds created every beginning of the year before even students join the TVET institutions. They have like a roadshow of the activities of every institution or the courses that every institution is training. Then there is a body that is tasked to register students or ensure that a student, an institution like KTTC has enough students to train in accordance with the budget allocated. So what we have here as a challenge, and that's what is making us not move ahead with the skills development, because the industry is moving very fast. Feristas can attest to that, because the technology is moving very quickly. And Kenya, we are very good at the internet and digital. But the problem is that these institutions like CDAC, which is carrying out the competence-based curriculum development, they need to have more funds to ensure that whatever is happening in the industry is being done in the institutions. Again, developing this curriculum, they need to work with the industry for them to capture the needs of the industry and what is supposed to be taught in class. Thank you.
Dan, may I add one point? Prof has said something very valid, that sometimes you will have someone with a degree but will not have the competence or will not have the attitude. But because a position is critically indicated there, minimum requirement is a diploma or a degree, we will lose out on these students. But the country actually needs to acknowledge that you may have someone who's worked for pharmacists for 15 years. I still refer to us because I know for sure there are opportunities that people you find, someone is a manager but may not have that degree, but they have made it. Why? Because there is an experience on the job. But I think we are stuck on the fact that we leave it to the technical institutions to give you the certification, but we don't follow through. The people who may have started with that organization and may not have necessarily a degree, but have the skills that can be able to perform the same job. So that as a country, I think we need to look into.
All right, I want to bring back Dr. Tano for a bit. Now, there's a lot that's been said about these people who have got the skill. You've talked about the attitude, but I want to now speak on the people who have the skill and the attitude to grow. So, and this I think also come to Prof. Let's give an example, a person, let's call him Richard. Richard has, he probably did not go that far in his schooling. And what happened is that he started becoming a mechanic hapo mtaani, you know, and he's done it for a number of years. And that guy anaweza kukukwamua if you're in whichever corner of this country better than many other people. And he'll do it at he has all the people skills, the customer service, but this guy now wants to get to a point where he wants to move on and work for some huge company that has come and set up a manufacturing plant, a car assembly, not an assembly, they're actually making the cars here. But then he goes and he's told, where are your papers? Umesoma mpaka wapi? And he maybe did up to Form 4. Maybe that's the most he has. So what happens to those thousands of Kenyans who have that skill but they lack that kind of certification so they can actually advance themselves? Because he may not be the person who would start his own business. Maybe he's not an entrepreneur at heart, but he would be a great person to help make a beautiful car and a powerful one in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Mwangi. This, again, we are back to what Professor said. I've been in the TVET industry for as long as I can remember, from my Form 1 up to now, because I was in a technical school in secondary education. Now, this is the interesting part. We mentioned earlier that 3 critical components is the skill, the attitude, and the knowledge. Now, this Jua Kali person that you're mentioning has the skill. Very, very skilled. He may not have a lot of technical knowledge, as you may want to call it, you know, the theoretical concepts and all that go with technical education. But he also has a very good attitude. That is why he's able to work. These components now is the question of which comes earlier than the other, and which ones should be given more prominence. And that is why those 3 are very important. If you look at a person who has the skill and the knowledge, but has no attitude, again, or a positive attitude, then that person is not going to work very well, because already they have a negative perception towards what they are going to do. So then comes the question of this person who has been working for a long time. What do we do? Recently, and for the last 3 years, SIDAC and other government agencies and TVETA have come up with what is called recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning means this person is competent. All we need to do is to certificate them at the level that we think that they are competent in. So we know we have now the qualification framework in Kenya, the lowest to the highest. So we now have opportunity for this person to be recognized as having a particular level of qualification and competence that they are in. They will be referred to centers for recognition of prior learning, and they will be given certificates for that particular level. If they want to move to the next level, there are conditions that they can fill, maybe by going to learn more theory on a particular concept, and then now they are also given the next certification. So we have the avenue. I think the critical problem here is the implementation part. How far have we really done this? How many recognition centers have been established? Are they working? And those are the kind of things that we need to tie them together. Otherwise, the framework exists to recognize prior learning in Kenya.
Prof, please contribute to that.
I think maybe I take off from what Dr. Tarino has said. We already have a policy in place. Not just only a policy. TVET SIDAC has trained very many assessors, and they are in various technical institutions, and who are supposed to start now assessing those people. Now, what is happening, and this is the beauty about competency-based education and training, is that you don't have to get a certificate because you attended a school or an institution. No. You could have got your knowledge elsewhere. But if you claim that you are qualified at a certain level, because there's level 1 up to level 10, then you just apply to any of those institutions which have been approved. And then you will be assessed. And the assessment will be done, and the TVET SIDAC will give you a certificate, which will be recognized by Kenya National Qualification Authority. And already that thing we have already, in fact, it's supposed to be started from, even I would ask Tarino to should start it from its institution. Because anytime you need to start that, we need to synthesize the people in the Chuakari to start doing that.
So are we saying that we have the opportunity but it has not been actualized?
We have already, everything is put in place.
Or even communicated. I'm sitting right next to Prof, and I didn't know it existed as an industry. So Prof.
Yeah, now it is there now.
So in a practical sense, using the example I've used, there's the gentleman we have called Richard.
Yes.
Who has been working at a garage somewhere nearby. What does he need to do on Monday morning?
Now, on Monday morning, he needs to, okay, first he can start from TVET SIDAC to find out the institutions, or TVETA, any of them, to be told the institutions that have been approved to carry out assessment, okay? It's not only the institution, we are also going to approve industries. And I think there was an industry which we were working with the Tarino at Rift Valley. Toyota, yeah, it's Toyota. So even those ones, they are approved. So once you are told which one, you can apply. And then you would have already been explained what it means by level 1, what is level 2, what is level 3, what is level 4, and so forth. Actually, the people without that qualification like Chuakari, they can only reach up to level 4. That's the maximum. Then any other, they can now apply and attend an institution or learn some of the knowledge that is required. One thing which I want to mention is that what Tarino said, that most of these, they lack actually knowledge and also attitude. Now, what we just want to find out, what can you happen? I went to South Africa, and I noticed what they do, because they have the same thing. What they do, they assess the people, and then they develop courses, what you can call breaching courses, for only that item. And then they can attend, like evening or any other convenient time. And then they can breach and they can do the exam. Okay,
and so I'm looking at the TVETA website, and so that's where you can get access some of this information.
Yes.
Right? And so what about the person who had begun studying even in a different university or college, even abroad, but they didn't manage to finish and get the certification, are they also meant to do the same thing just to make sure that, you know, he's not at the same level as this guy who got to Form 4. He has got some units he did in a higher education institution and now would like to now get some certification.
I think that we have already mechanism with the Kenya National Qualification Authority, which is a body supposed to equate certificate from other countries. So that's where you apply. Previously it was NEC. It was NEC, I think, doing it, and some universities. But now we have already Kenya National Qualification Authority that is been authorized to do that equation.
Good. That's some good point of information. I think, like she has said, you need to shout more about it.
Yeah, but just also to comment, Prof and the team on the ground, they also have courses that are short courses, because if you're working, you may not necessarily have the time, not even the resources, to actually go for a long-term course. So they have very short courses which are working quite well. Those ones are really working for the employees, especially if you have a big group of team, and maybe like an organization like ours, which is 24-hour, so you really don't have the time. They have also, Prof, as much as I may be hard on him, is that they have also provided trainers on site. Most of the organization, if you have over 3,000, your first employees, you're forced to actually host them. So they are on site. So they have done programs which have really added value. If we didn't have those ones, we would not have evolved as much. So that for sure, the government is really doing something good.
Maybe I can add something on this.
Yes.
About short courses. In fact, the competency-based curriculum have actually been developed in units. Some of the units can take only 1 month, some 2 months, depending on it. So it's so easy to have people from industry or anywhere else, or a person to attend and they do only case. Take example, if you are doing welding. Welding has about 7 units. There is arc welding, there is gas welding, and so forth, okay? But someone like in Chuakali wants only arc welding. That's what you use. So that can attend only for that course for a certain level and get a certificate. And by the way, we give certificate for unit, what we call partial certification. And therefore, that is different from the normal way we know it.
Thank you very much. Dr. Monari also wanted to contribute.
I want to add something on what Prof has said and Dr. Tano. The reason why we have a skills gap and what he's saying about private sector and the industry is not aware of what is happening in the government, the institutions that are tasked to do the mandate of curriculum development, certification like KNQA and CDAC, they need to involve people from the private sector. For example, if in CDAC you have the government personnel who is qualifying people from the Chuakali sector, get an institution or somebody from the Chuakali sector to sit in that office also to be able to accredit or assess the people from the Chuakali sector. Because what is happening, if you tell somebody, if you go to somewhere in the industrial area and you tell a Chuakali, let's say Richard, to go and find out what is happening at Tiveta, he'll shy away because he feels like, okay, I'm going to a government office, I don't have papers, what will happen? But if you get somebody from the industry, for example, if you go to industrial area and get somebody from Toyota Kenya, because always those people from the Chuakali sector go to buy spare parts from those shops. So if you get somebody sitting at CDAC or Tiveta from that industry, or you have some kind of partnership, then if I go and introduce somebody, for example, Richard from industrial area, you will move there very quickly and get the accreditation and certification, which makes us work together from the industry and the institutions.
Okay, and Dr. Monari, just remaining with you, do you feel that corporates are appreciating technical jobs more and more because so that we could actually see that a person who has chosen, one of the students here who's chosen to go the line of technical, they actually can feel that they'll get to a point they will earn some good money and not feel in the what has been known to be the stereotype of blue-collar jobs. Are we seeing corporates appreciating them more?
Thank you, Dan. What I can say, most of the corporates actually in African countries and specifically Kenya, they are appreciating what is being done from the technical training institutions. And that's why you will find, for example, if you want to go to Kenya Breweries, they'll employ somebody who has gotten out of a TVET institution compared to a university. The reason is the people who get out of technical training institutions, they are hands-on skills. You have the expertise. So what happens is that me from the corporate sector, I take less time to train the individual to be able to perform my work in the industry compared to somebody who has come out from a university. And I'm not saying that university education is wrong because I've gone through it, is that I want to make sure that whatever, because the corporates are the people who are employing more people from universities and technical institutions, but they tend to get people who already understand what they can be able to do in the field. And what we need to do now as technical institutions is to make sure that we are moving very fast to catch up with what is happening in the corporate side. For example, let me say, for example, Safaricom. It's good again and it's bad that COVID came in. But myself, I appreciate because COVID came, we are able to have conferences online. Because before, if I don't go to Dr. Tano at KTTC, then I will not be able to meet. But today, we can have a Zoom call and then we discuss something. So I think the corporate is appreciating of what is being done from the technical areas. The only thing we have to do, maybe the government agencies, is to ensure the information that they have is spread out to the corporate sector and the industry sector. Thank you.
Dr. Tano?
I appreciate what Dr. Munari mentioned. We have had issues of industry collaboration with technical institutions and universities as a discussion for very many years. We need to ask ourselves, why is it not working? Why is industry in Kenya not as collaborative as industries out there? If you go to countries that have worked on the TVET subsector and the universities research sector, we now have what we call colleges in factories, and we also have a concept of factories in colleges, where a company will go and establish a factory within the institution or vice versa. What is missing? What exactly have we not done? There are several things that have come forward. One of them is that we don't encourage the private sector enough. We need to encourage the private sector through many motivational systems like tax rebates, for instance, compensating them for training our people in their industries. There are so many models that have been established that encourage the private sector to participate in educational systems. And this has worked, including countries like Philippines, which is not as highly developed like the first world, but of course much more developed than maybe African states. So we need to look at that. The other aspect that you may need to work is to create a framework of linkages. We need to have some documented framework system, some system in which, how do we collaborate? Is it because I know Florence, therefore my students can go there? Or is it because Mwangi is running a factory that can get our graduates, so we have a collaboration? Can we work on a system that has a complete framework where the participants of the private sector and technical education institutions and universities can have use as a method of engagement? So I think that is also important. The third one, of course, is the industry itself. They must be made to believe that we train for them. There is a conception that the industry thinks that we train. But ours is just to get students because we also want some fees, and also we want to be active. We actually train for Kenya, and Kenya includes the industry, includes the university. So industries must also have a positive attitude towards us. They must accept that we don't train for any other place, we train for them. So these are the kind of things that I think we should be engaging in.
All right, let Prof, then we can come
now,
to
maybe, I think we have already mechanism, maybe, which is being implemented by NITA. But somehow it's not being implemented the way I wanted. I happen to have been working there when we started working on it. But it is still in existence. But it's almost dormant, okay? But it is there. We need to rejuvenate it. But in addition, there is something else I wanted to add. Because COVID has been mentioned here, maybe I would want to mention something. Because of this COVID, you know, we have a problem. We have been having a problem more so in TVET institutions. Because TVET institution, the curriculum has got a lot of practicals. And this people find is very difficult to train people virtually. But right now, we have already worked out a system. TVET SIDAC and KBA. In fact, the KBA is already implementing it right now, where they are virtually training people on TVET, on technical skills and others. And TVET SIDAC, we are also training people, assessors and so on, virtually. So already we have taken off. In fact, all other institutions can copy. In fact, like KBA's system, they have allowed the ministry to use it if they want. It's very easy because they are funded by MasterCard Foundation and they are doing very well. They have done very well in this country, okay? And that is working very well because I've been involved in assessing those curriculum which they have already launched and they are working very well. So we need to go that way. And in the future, the way I've seen it, virtual is the way to go. We will train many people.
All right, as we come to a close, because in this exciting conversation, time has flown faster than we could. I just want to now touch again, just carry on the conversation on the COVID situation. Felicitas, for you who has a large factory, you run a large factory, it means there's a lot of human interaction, a lot of human presence, ideally. Then you're handling food. What have you done as Farmers Choice to change and to still remain in operation, but still be highly sensitive of the COVID-19 containment measures?
All right, thank you, Dan, for that question. That's when I mentioned about the short courses. The government has actually come handy. I think the test of how private sector can operate with government and relate was tested during COVID, because it is this time that as much as we have private sector bodies that regulate, everything was coming from that one man, Mutahi. So if he says the trucks cannot go to Kampala without testing the drivers, even though you know Dan from NTV, you still had to comply. So because of that, we had to work closely together, and KAM has really been very handy, because as the private sector and the link between the private sector and government, there's a very huge gap, because if you don't have a body that represents you, you cannot go to Prof's office just like that. He even told you to go to TVET. So even us as a private sector, we have to go through KAM, but that has really helped, because as an organization, we needed to train the personnel. We have over 1,500 working in the factory next to each other every day. Of course, we had to space them out. We had to educate that the mask is not because of you, it's also because of the other person, and also for continuity. Business continuity was also tested. If we had to send the drivers to be tested at the border of Uganda, they have to adjust. Now, those soft skills, we had to involve TVET and other organizations to come and train immediately, because this is not something that they needed to have learned in their diploma or certificate. It's a new need that has come. How fast can, as an organization, do you work in liaison with the trainers to train so that you can contain the situation? Because if that was not done, also with the farmers, like we had to liaise with the people, the agriculture sector, to train the farmers on how to even continue transporting, also to gradually work on their raw materials so that we don't run out. If, as a country, if we didn't do something for the last 10, 11 months, we would not be having food. So when we closed the hospitality industry, the airspace was closed. As Farmers Choice, we serve them, but we also serve the normal Kenyan through the supermarket. So we had to adjust and adapt. So the institutions also need to adapt, and the new solutions they give us as an industry must be in relation with the current need. Because now the need of 2020 is not valid anymore. We need them to actually come to the industry and realize what are the needs for the respective industry and the companies at large.
Okay, I just want to bring in Dr. Tano so that we could come to a close. I'm informed that time is far much gone. Dr. Tano.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I really appreciate this, Mwangi. COVID and TVET, what happened? Very many things happened. But the most interesting is that we had the positive part of it and the negative part of it. Across the world, TVET institutions came in handy. In Kenya, TVET institutions made masks. They made sanitizers that are still being used up to today in the industry. Where I come from at KTTC, we even gave some as part of corporate social responsibility. TVET institutions came up to make robots. You can see with what happened at PC Kinyanjui. So worldwide, TVET institutions actually came very handy in the interventions. We also learned some interesting stuff at the same time. The negative part of it is that we were not prepared to go e-learning. The content development for technical education is very complicated. Across the world, not only in Kenya, that was a challenge. In Kenya, we had challenges of network that could not reach all the places in the country. We have the challenge of lecturers who had not been trained enough to do e-learning. So I think we had the plus and then minuses, but overall, I want to say that TVET institutions really came up very, very, very strong and supported a lot of initiatives during this COVID time. It's really encouraging, and I think I'm privileged to work in that industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like us to continue on and on, but unfortunately time is far much gone. But I'd just like to also mention to those who may be watching us, as well as those of us who are here, that you can join in and interact with the institutions of higher learning who are the exhibitors here, because to my left, we have a number of booths, exhibition booths, which have been set up by various institutions, some represented here, where they're giving you information on how you can access the different things. The same kind of conversations we've had on stage here are available there. If you're able to come to Sarit Center, come in person and interact with us and with them here, be sure that we are observing all the COVID-19 containment measures. And you can actually, like I was talking about those who want to do it virtually, if you're not able to come here physically, you can interact with the exhibitors and the institutions by going to the link careerfair.nation.co.ke. That's career, careerfair.nation.co.ke. From wherever you are, and you can chat with the exhibitors virtually and get information about how you can be able to progress yourself, be it in the technical aspect of education and career path, or even in the others, because we've got the institutions that are covering all these. So once again, thank you very much to our esteemed guests. We have Professor Charles Manasseh Ondieki, who's the chairman of TVET CDACC. And just in the event that anyone is not clear on what CDACC is, it's the Curriculum Development, Assessment and Certification Council. And we have Felicitas Gitau, who's the Director of Sales and Marketing at Farmers Choice Limited. We have Dr. Edwin Tano, who's the Chief Principal of KTTC, and that is the Kenya Technical Trainers College. And last but not least, we have Dr. Joseph Monari, who's the Technical Delegate of World Skills Kenya. He's also the Director of Eastern African Research and Innovation, that is at Edibon International, a firm which is based, headquartered in Spain. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for offering your time, your insight, your wisdom, and even your way forward, as opposed to just sitting here and explaining the problem, what the way forward is. Thank you for being part of this. And thank you for watching us on NTV and also on our social media platforms. Once again, I'd like to invite you to come to Sarit Center, if you're able to come and get some first-hand information on how you can advance your education, your skills, your competence. You've been told it's not just about the paperwork, but about the competency, attitude, and just grab the opportunity that you can. There's also a lot of emphasis on don't just wait for things to be done for you. Don't wait for the government alone and for the private sector. Do your part. Push yourself, do your part, especially in this pandemic time when we have been pushed beyond what our comfort zone had made us accustomed to. Thank you very much also for our wonderful audience for you listening here. Again, you're welcome to come and join. Again, careerfair.nation.co.ke is where you can also interact with them. My name is Dan Mwangi. Have yourselves a great mid-morning into afternoon.
Thanks also for bringing this theme. It's very important.
Thank you very much. Appreciate them with a hand clap, please.